Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a poor woodcutter and his two children, Hansel and Gretel. The woodcutter was married to a cruel and greedy woman who cared more about her own comfort than her family's well-being. One day, the stepmother decided to get rid of Hansel and Gretel because they were consuming too much food, and she wanted more for herself. She convinced the woodcutter to take the children deep into the forest, and leave them there to fend for themselves. Hansel overheard the stepmother's plan and came up with a plan to outsmart her. He sneaked out of the house and collected small white pebbles from the ground, then he placed them on the path to the forest, so they could easily find their way back home. As they walked deep into the forest, they realized that they were lost. But Hansel and Gretel followed the trail of white pebbles, and managed to return home safely. The stepmother was furious when she saw Hansel and Gretel return home, so she devised another plan. The next day, she took the children even deeper into the forest and left them there, but this time, Hansel couldn't collect pebbles to mark the path as they walked. The children walked deeper into the forest, and as they wandered, they came across a beautiful gingerbread house. They were very hungry and decided to take a bite from the roof of the house. To their surprise, the roof was made of candy, and the walls were made of gingerbread. Suddenly, an old woman appeared from the gingerbread house. She introduced herself as a witch who lured children with her sweets, and then cooked and ate them. She trapped Hansel in a cage and made Gretel her servant. Gretel came up with a plan to rescue Hansel. She pretended to be stupid and clumsy, which annoyed the witch. One day, the witch grew tired of Gretel's antics and told her to light the oven to prepare Hansel for dinner. But Gretel was quick-witted and told the witch she didn't know how to use the oven. The witch then showed Gretel how to use it, and when the witch leaned in, Gretel pushed her into the oven and slammed the door shut. Gretel freed Hansel from the cage, and together they searched the gingerbread house for any valuables to take back home. They found a chest of gold and precious stones, which they took with them. As they walked back home, they followed the trail of breadcrumbs that Gretel had dropped along the way. But the birds ate the breadcrumbs, and they got lost once again. After wandering for days, they came across a small cottage in the woods where an old woman lived. The old woman took care of the children and gave them food and shelter. They told her their story, and she took them back to their father's house. The stepmother had died, and the woodcutter was overjoyed to see his children return. They used the gold and precious stones to live comfortably for the rest of their lives, and Hansel and Gretel never went hungry again. The moral of the story of Hansel and Gretel is to always be smart, resourceful, and brave in times of difficulty, even when things seem impossible. It also teaches us to trust our instincts and rely on our wits to overcome any challenges we might face. Additionally, it warns us to be careful of the greed and wickedness of others, and to always watch out for the people who might try to deceive us. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us, and we'll see you again in the next chapter.